Grace and peace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you all. I welcome you to our Good Friday service. Those of you interested in artistic representations of the cross will have noticed how conflicting those portrayals can be. Painters and sculptors render very different interpretations of the crucifixion depending on the gospel chosen, the artist's understanding of his or her faith, the social-political context of the painting or sculpture, and finally, the kind of place for which the work of art was commissioned for: a cathedral, a hospital chapel, a retreat center, or a cemetery. A crucifixion inspired by the Gospel of Mark and Matthew presents us with a Jesus whose body is bent in agony, often eyes wide open and terrified. Why have you forsaken me? In stark contrast, if the artist follows the Gospel of Luke, then Jesus' head is leaning to the side in a gesture of quiet acceptance. Into your hands I commit my spirit. John's Gospel, on the other hand, encourages depictions of Jesus with his head raised high and a triumphant gaze upwards. It is finished. Each account derives from a different early Christian community, with its own challenges and struggles, longings and hopes. To the communities of Mark and Matthew, who suffered severe persecution and violence, it was comforting to know that Jesus himself experienced God's absence in a sense of forsakenness. Why have you forsaken me? To the community of Luke, it was important to remember that Jesus died the way he died, loving and caring even for his enemies. Forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. And for John's community, it was significant that one could be family, brother and sister, without necessarily being biologically related. Even with his last words, Jesus kept nurturing such a spirit of community. There is your mother. There is your son. Such a diversity of accounts is a great strength and not a weakness of our Christian tradition. For people suffer and find comfort in different ways. So tell me about your Jesus and I tell you who you are. I tell you about your pain and your longing. So let us follow Jesus to Golgotha as we sing together, Besuka Bamlandela.
Besuka Bamlandela, Besuka Bamlandela, Baishia Imisiabo, Besuka Bamlandela, Besele Ungamezo, Besia Egopata, Baishia Imisiabo, Besuka Bamlandela, Besuka Bamlandela, Besuka Bamlandela, Baishia Imisiabo, Besuka Bamlandela, Betwele Unqamezo, Besia Egota, Baishia Imisiabo, Besuka Bamlandela.
The first word from the cross comes from the Gospel of Luke. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. This is perplexing. Though suffering himself, Jesus' concern is for others. He deeply cares for those who cause his agony. He can bear what they are doing to him, but he cannot bear what they are doing to themselves. He dies in the way he lived, showing unconditional love, even for his enemies. He does what he said from the beginning: love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. He can bear what the soldiers are doing to him, but he cannot bear what they're doing to themselves. Luke was said to have been a doctor, but clearly not just a doctor of the body, but also a doctor of the heart, the mind, and the soul. This is why Luke's first word from the cross is about forgiveness and the pathology of not knowing what one does. There's a wound, an illness, a sickness that needs healing, and Luke the surgeon knows how to cut right through. His great gift is that he does not reduce people to what they've done. They are not their feelings, their thoughts and their actions. They are much more than that. They are not just oppressors, but also sons and maybe even fathers and grandfathers. They're not just soldiers, but first of all human beings, children of the same God, brothers and sisters. That is the deeper meaning of forgiveness. And the result is immediate and beautiful. It gives the one rebel crucified with Jesus enough courage to say to Jesus, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." In other words, let me be where you are, where your wisdom and love rules, for there's healing even for someone like me. So let us sing together, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom."
Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. Perhaps the most heartrending words of our sacred text, the most moving paintings in our art galleries, the Virgin Mary, the Son of God, the beloved apostle. Poignant and beautiful as these words are, heartrending as the artistry is, we don't fit, any of us, into that framework. We can worship and wonder, but we aren't any of these persons. We aren't in that setting. But we are in our own unique setting, a unique time in recorded world history. So perhaps we need to expand the context, extend the framework, create a scene into which we do belong. What does Jesus say to us, to you, to me today, Good Friday on the global calendar, as we focus on his death,